everyone has something to offer. I don't want anyone to think, well, I could write a letter, but I really don't have anything really valuable to share. That's just not true. Everyone has something to share that's valuable.
When things in life happen, like a few weeks ago, I got in a car accident, got absolutely blindsided on my driver's side door. Could have died, but I didn't. God protected me. Praise God.
Be encouraged and get your estate documents done.
And leave all of the stupid little seemingly unimportant details, especially if you're writing it to somebody that you may never meet.
Okay, so we're back. You're back.
I am back.
You were just traveling around the world in 2 weeks.
Halfway around the world. I was in New Zealand for 2 weeks.
Yeah.
To you guys who are watching, nothing changed because episodes have been posted, but we haven't filmed anything in a few weeks here. So
exactly.
It's been probably like 3 weeks since we've done an episode.
Yeah.
So we're
catching
up. But
catching up. You were gone for a couple weeks and in another part of the world.
Yeah.
Long flights.
Yes.
Layovers. And
going there was shorter than coming back. It took me 21 hours to get there. But coming back, it took me 36 hours to get home because I had like layovers and things like that.
Yeah.
And I didn't sleep for that entire time because I didn't want to like get like the jet lag or whatever. And the first night I got back, I slept fine. I was like, oh, I slept
Well,
normally.
I'm sure 36 hours straight.
Right. I was like, I slept fine. I slept probably for like 8 or 9 hours. Like it wasn't that bad.
Yeah.
And then I've slept terrible like every night since. And I'm trying to still figure it out. It's like midday, I'm exhausted. And then, because it's a 16-hour time difference.
Yeah.
So it's crazy. But I got to go there and visit some, I got to go there and visit some people I met a few years ago when I was working at Jersey Mike's.
Yep.
They just came into my shop and they love Jesus as well. And then we hit it off. And they lived in New Zealand and they were putting on some sort of like young adult camp.
Yeah.
And so I helped them with that and served a little bit. And it was cool.
Yeah, so you got to just hang out with some friends that you met in Jersey Mike's one day and said, yeah, hey, I'm going to come over sometime. 21 hours later.
8,500
You're
miles across the world, but it was a really cool experience.
Yeah.
So, but I'm happy to be home.
Yeah, nice.
Ready to get back at it.
Yeah.
And I think it kind of fits into what you want to talk about today.
Oh, yeah?
Because when you sent me what we wanted to talk about today, I thought it was very interesting. We talk about legacy a lot, and I'll let you give the intro on what we're talking about. But I think it fits in the way where, when we really start to discover, like, our identity and, like, who we are and, like, where we're placed in this world, like, where our place is in this world and, like, what God has for us, and we step into that area, then we start to actually like radically affect people around us in a good way. Because like that is what we're here to do. It's like what we're going to be best at. And we're not like fighting against the current. We're going with the flow of, what I'm good at. And so like building the relationships with those people are going to be lasting, lifelong relationships. And I have met and built relationships and interacted with people that I never would have like interacted with if I had never decided to start up a conversation with them that day. And so I feel like it kind of goes into what you're going to talk.
Relationships is the thing, because you're talking about things that you've established with people now and you hope to carry on lifelong. And as relationships deepen and over time, and you think about, we're in the financial space, we help people plan. When people think about, what they're going to leave behind, we talk about legacy, one of the conversations that comes up is, I got to get my estate planning in order. And so when you think about estate planning, they think about their will or their trust, and they think about maybe their health, their HIPAAs and their advanced directives and those kind of things. And those are important. But one unique thing that I've seen some clients do, and I'd love to see more people do, is something that we call legacy letters. It's where they kind of capture what you were talking about, those moments, the values that are important to them, the relationships they've had, and they try to capture them in writing a letter that will accompany their estate documents and that can be read either, now, in life or after they've passed away, but a way for them to capture the things that were important to them and they want to make sure that their family continues to implement and practice in their lives. And so I thought it would be kind of cool to kind of discuss what that looks like and maybe share some examples of some of those letters and some things that people have said in those letters and how important and powerful that it can be that, you want to have an impact on your next generation or future generations. This is one way to really take it to another level.
Yeah, it's almost like it's your kind of magnum opus.
Yeah.
Or, you know what I'm saying? Like,
Good word.
yeah, it's like
Or words. That was 2 words.
there was 2 words, yeah. But it kind of is one idea, you
Yeah.
know? But it's kind of, even if somebody did something like this at my age, it's still you're encapsulating like thus far, like this is what I've learned, and this is if I had children, or even my friends, or like the people that are in my life that are important to me, like this is what I'd want to leave them with, and what I hope they continue to run if, like, God forbid something happened to me. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And so, and like when things in life happen, like a few weeks ago, I got in a car accident, got absolutely blindsided on my driver's side door. Could have died, but I didn't. God protected me. Praise God. And if I were to pass away, it's like, oh, like I didn't have anything intentionally prepared to like share with people, because I feel like at my age, it's easy to just feel invincible. And it's like, oh, you know what? Like people die unexpectedly, but I'll be fine. You know what I'm saying? But like, none of us really know, when that's going to happen. Not to live in fear and to always be anxious, like, okay, every day I got to update this thing so that it's like fully up to date or whatever. But it's always good to be mindful, like even just to like think in more of a conceptual way, like what am I leaving behind, to those around me? And it's not any less impactful based on age.
No, not at all. And it's also important you do it because you need to allow yourself to accept the fact that you do have things to offer those around you, your loved ones, your family, your friends, that are important and valuable things for them to take on and to continue. Because this is not something that a lot of people do. But like I was listening to some stories, a family, they made a trust. The husband and wife had plans on how they want their assets distributed and so forth. But what they created with the trust is something that they called their own family constitution. They will, if you will. This is our family. This is like what we believe, and this is what's important to us, and this is what we've tried to pass on to you, and this is what we hope you continue. And and they put it with the documents. So it's not like a legal binding document with the other legal documents you have, but it's one of those, it's more of the heart behind the estate planning. And so everyone has something to offer. I don't want anyone to think, well, I could write a letter, but I really don't have anything really valuable to share. That's just not true. Everyone has something to share that's valuable. And, the letter doesn't have to be, chapter 6, avoid debt at all costs. It can be 2 paragraphs. It can be 3 pages. It doesn't have to be long or exhaustive. I know there's some people who have written letters, like maybe like one a year they write to their family, because they want to like capture the moments as close to the moments as they can, so it can be accurately, captured. Right. And then that way you can still read them years later and reflect back on. You still have an accurate picture, as opposed to me trying to remember what happened 30 years ago, and trying to write about it, and then over time, as they get these letters accumulated, some of them have put them and bound them together, not necessarily published them, but maybe in a book form where it's all there and it's like something they can hand off to their family and capture all those moments. Right. So, and some people just write one letter that they want read at their funeral. There's so many different ways you can do this. But I think it's a great piece to consider. to go along with your other estate documents. Because right now, I know there's, let's see, Bank of America, I think, did a study. 55% of Americans age 55 and older have a will. 55%. And just 18% have the recommended essentials that go along with the will, like the advance directives and so forth. Side note, if you have your will completed or haven't yet, get that done. But your advance directives are very important too. There's the financial power of attorney. If you can't make decisions for yourself for some reason, who's making the financial decisions for you? Who's the health directive? Who's making the health decisions for you? The things that if you're not there to speak and say, this is what I want, this is what I don't want, if you can't do that, who's speaking on your behalf? Those are really important things to have. And some people will tell you that when it comes to the health directive and the financial directive, sometimes you don't want to make them the same people.
Separated.
Yeah.
Yep.
I have the power of the purse and the
Yep.
power of the
plug.
The plug.
Mhm.
Yep.
Yeah,
Right.
definitely good to have that separated.
Yeah. Yeah. If necessary, have two different people doing that, but they're important to have those things in place. Have your HIPAAs in place. And then, once those things are in place, I think the letters can also be a powerful thing when it comes to those documents, because you can express to them too, to your family, your desires of how they receive their inheritance, what they're going to receive, and what spirit you hope they carry on the things you're handing off to them, whether they are property, funds, whatever it is. Because in our experience, what happens most of the time is people make their plans, they put their documents away, and then no one knows what's in them until after they pass away. Now, I'm not saying that all the time that's a bad thing, but I've had enough experience in this to see that on the back end of life, people get weird. I mean, I've just seen families turn sideways. Yeah. Relationships can get, divided. People can start fighting over things because there was no communication beforehand of what was going to happen when grandma passed away or when dad passed away. And I cannot tell you how powerful it would be if families could sit down after the estate documents are done and just say, okay, guys, this is what we've laid out. This is what's going to happen. And that way, if anybody does have any problems or there are some ill will or anything, people can talk about it then.
And it comes out then.
It comes out then, and you can work through it so that on the back end, there can just be a peaceful transition of things.
Right. Go for it.
Yeah. So, no, go ahead. I was just going to, and then I was just going to wrap up by saying that, I guess, that's why also the legacy letter can be real powerful, because it brings the heart behind what you're doing, not just the practical implementation of legal documents.
Right. These are harsh realities to come to. Some people, I think a lot of it's just people want to avoid the conflict, whether they admit it to themselves or not, but not being intentional and going through that with your family before you pass away, is definitely, it's not the end of the world, but you kind of miss out on potential good that could come out of it, and potential protection from future division in the family, working those things out before you pass away. And we tell people all the time, you don't have to admit it to yourself, but this is the reality of your situation, right? And so you can either do something with it, and we're more than happy to help you do something with it. But it's it at the end of the day, it's your decision. Yeah. And sometimes people just don't want to admit that to themselves.
Right.
But I think the legacy letters do come into play. I think it's something we've lost in our culture. I literally, when you sent me it, I was like, oh yeah, that's something you see in a movie. It's not something it's not common stance. You don't see this all the time. And I think back in the history, in the Bible, this is what they did. That it's what the Bible is to the body of Christ, and in Hebrews, I know it's one of your favorite books in the Bible. It talks about how all of these Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, and they start listing all of the people. They're described as the great cloud of witnesses, all the people that were faithful and spread God's message or whatever he promised to them or their people. And even though they didn't see it come to fruition, Like that was the culture, was to pass things down from generation to generation. Not just like your wealth or whatever,
Right.
but like your family constitution,
The promises
the
that were still
promises,
yet to be
the
fulfilled.
promises that were still yet to be fulfilled.
Generational blessing.
Exactly, right?
Mhm.
Like that. And I think a lot of families miss out on generational blessing because it's just not part of our culture. I think the Bible talks about how like men will become lovers of themselves. And I very much see that. Like we're in a very individualistic, me-centered society where even if you have a family, it's still all about me,
Yeah.
right? And it's not, okay, what am I leaving behind for my children's children, right? And that's a big paradigm shift because it's not a part of our culture
Right.
whatsoever.
Right. And I think too, in your other example there too, is also why they had all those celebrations,
Hmm.
all the feasts and the things they would do
So remember.
to remember.
Mhm.
Exactly. Let's not forget where we came from, the mighty things that were done, like the Exodus story, Passover, all those different things. It was to remember those things so that every generation would be able to carry on the culture and the identity of who they were through the blessing they were given. And so, yeah, those ideas definitely can be lost in a cultural paradigm that separates and becomes more individualistic. And so this is one small way where you can help the people that matter most to you to remember. And what do you want them to remember? Okay. If it's okay, I think here I found some of these letters,
Okay.
and I just want to share a couple excerpts
Yeah,
from a
yeah,
couple of
yeah.
them, just show you that, just some of the simple things that people would share in them. This was from a guy who was a doctor. He ended up going into pharmacology and the pharmacy business and whatnot. And so he was talking, and he says in part of it, "My father exposed me to pharmacy, but more importantly, he demonstrated integrity, diligence, and professionalism. He always said, if there are two ways to do something, choose the more difficult. If you can handle the difficult situations consistently, then you'll be in good shape for whatever comes in your life."
Hmm.
Cool,
Yeah,
right?
that is cool.
And now I know a lot of people could probably say something just like that. They probably learned similar lessons from their parents or grandparents, So it's real practical stuff. Um, uh, but he also wrote um, some of his experiences when he was in school. He went to the University of Michigan uh, to medical school, and he was there. Of course, medical school is a long process, and during that time he got married and they had children. Okay, so this is what his life was like. He says, "We didn't spend a lot, but we could scrape by. We bought regular milk and powdered milk and mixed the two to save money. We lived on $173 a month." So this probably puts it in the time context. This was a
Right.
few years
A
ago.
few years ago.
Yeah. "A gracious family living in a farmhouse rented us an apartment upstairs for $100 a month,
Wow.
including all utilities. That meant we had $73 for everything else. 2 full carts of groceries cost less than $40 in those days. My parents paid for our auto and health insurance, the latter being much less expensive than the former. Everyone gave us only practical gifts. I remember my wife and I had a pull-out couch in the living room, and the 3 kids were in a single bedroom. We only had a shower in the apartment. When I would take a shower, Marilyn would pass the first baby in, I would wash and pass her out, take the next baby in, and so on to the last one. It was like a car wash. When they were in school, our kids were asked, "What does your father do?" And the kids said, "He goes to school just like us."
That's awesome.
Right? So you can share little stories like that so people can remember, have memories. Maybe those children will be like, "Oh yeah, we did say that," or "Oh wow, that's I don't," to be able to have that memory captured in that letter forever.
Yeah.
And so you can see it's not just all about the money being transferred. It's about, this was our experience. This is what life was like.
Yeah.
This is how we handled it. And I handled it by taking the more difficult decisions. I took the most difficult path because that's what my father taught me to do. Those things are really powerful,
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And so your letters can capture elements like this. There's another one here. This was by a grandmother.
I'm just imagining like how many funny stories, like little funny stories like that, are missed and in family lives. And like going back and reading through that, I can imagine it almost like brings things back into perspective again. Like it's really easy to get caught up in the spin of life and the hurry of everything, where if you go back and like if you were part of that family, go back and read that story, it's kind of like, oh yeah, like sometimes like when things were simpler, like
Yeah.
it was okay, like
Yeah.
we don't need anything crazy. Like we were happy with the little moments, like pulling them in and out of the bathtub and
Yeah.
things like that,
Create the car wash system,
Yeah.
washing the babies.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Um, so this was from a letter from a grandmother. She says, I'm writing my legacy letter to you today, and here's the date, in my 84th year, and it's Valentine's Day. It would seem fitting to write to you today to let you know how important you are in my life and how much I love you. Then she skips down here, says, the glue that holds our family together is the love of God. There is an unshakable belief that prayer is primary to our lives. This belief has been passed down from my grandparents, my parents, and from me to you. Now that sounds like simple stuff, but that's pretty powerful.
Yeah.
And I skipped some paragraphs in there. She says a lot of other really great things to her family. But she's like, I'm passing this to you because my grandparents gave it to my parents. They gave it to me, and I want to give it to you. So like she shows the succession that she was hoping to pass on, and that, hey, it's already lasted 3 generations. I want it to continue. The love of God and prayer. Like that was really, right? So these letters can have all sorts of things. There's no right or wrong way to do this. It's really about you. I was actually reading some too where people put in, don't forget these favorite family recipes, and they actually put the recipes in their letter, and then they'll tell the story. I remember sitting in my grandmother's living room eating her lemon meringue pie, right? And I can remember the frosting and how we mixed it, and it took 7 minutes for it to set, and all the the different things,
the random little nuances,
right?
Yeah.
And so, and that made me think about your great grandmother, on your grandmother's side. I remember going up to her place. Okay, we live in Michigan, so you go up north.
Yep.
Okay, so everybody, if you're not Michigan, what do you mean up north? Yeah,
Yep.
That's what it means.
That's what it means.
Yeah,
Yep.
we go up north, be in Hubbard Lake, and she would make these incredible, what we called sticky buns, these cinnamon roll things. And to this day, I think my mom has that recipe, and I'm like, I want to make sure I have that in my recipe book, because those are things that just are wonderful memories to me. It's not just about the food itself, but it brings back being with grandma. It brings back the setting, the place you were, and brings back the wonderful memories.
Yeah.
So,
and what a blessing that is for that family that receives that letter, because then you don't miss out on the generations before you. Because I mean, if that letter wasn't written, how would you know, being in the 4th generation, like that your great grandparents like instilled a generational blessing of prayer all the way down to you?
right.
You've just been like, oh, I was raised to like pray like this or whatever, but little did you know that that's been like part of the family for generations, and all these little things. It's like it's incredible, and it helps cement like that identity.
It does, because if you just said, well, that's just what I was taught, but if you had the letter,
Mm-hmm.
you would probably tell someone, you would probably answer that question differently with the letter. You can be like, well, because you'd have the memory written there, you'd probably tell it using the verbiage from that letter.
Right, and this is part of my identity, my heritage.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly.
It's a good thing.
It is.
Yeah.
It's awesome. Yeah, I'm pumped up about this. As we're talking about this, I'm like, man, it gets more powerful as we talk about it. So, in crafting your own letter, okay, and in our show notes, we'll put maybe just a practical outline PDF you can download, so you can kind of have a structure for how you can do it.
That's him telling me when you're editing this, put that in.
Yeah.
in the show.
FYI,
Yeah,
we're going to have that in our show
way,
notes.
Caleb.
Yeah, by the way. Identify the recipients of your letter. Who's your target audience? Reflect on core values and life lessons that you want to be remembered. share stories, share family recipes, good memories. You can express your hope and your wishes for your future loved ones. I would always encourage people to write these letters to people who maybe aren't even born yet. Someone who may never meet you and know you. What do you want them to read and know about you and what you're passing down to their generations?
And leave all of the stupid little seemingly unimportant details,
Mm-hmm.
especially if you're writing it to somebody that you may never meet, because like the fact that that detail stood out to you like tells something about you. It tells a story, and then they get to like understand you better as a person, even if like they never met you, or even to your children. It's like how somebody observes life in a situation or a memory is very unique to them, and so however many details you leave in there, it just tells more of a story about what was important to you, like what you valued or what you thought was funny, or something small that you enjoyed that nobody really knew about, all these things. So like put in all the like stupid details that you think don't matter, because it might tell a whole story to somebody else.
Agreed.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So what you're saying there, then, be authentic and be sincere. Make sure it's your voice. Put it all in there. Make it you. And when you do that, then when it's completed, whether it's a letter or it's a collection of letters, however, you do it, make sure you include it and put it with your estate documents as well. Make sure that so it can be preserved. Maybe even back it up a digital copy on flash drives. I mean, with technology now, my gosh, there's so many great ways to be able to preserve data and things for longer, where paper and can fade and ink can fade. Digital copies can help preserve things for long term. And then again, we suggest whoever your estate attorney is, or your executor of your estate or a trustee, make sure they know about them. Make sure they're aware that they exist so that they see the light of day. Especially if this isn't something that you're going to read or give to your family beforehand. If this is going to be something that comes after you pass away, then just make sure that they know and are aware. And let's see here. Is there anything else that I missed on this?
One question that I have
Mhm.
is, what would you say to somebody in their 20s that's like, well, I probably don't need to do estate planning. I'm not married. I have nobody to leave anything to besides maybe my family. Like, do you feel like they need to go through a whole like estate planning process and set up a will and everything, or
Eventually. But maybe this is the opportunity if, young people are watching this. This is your opportunity maybe to go back to mom and dad or grandma and grandpa and maybe start trying to have these kind of conversations and be like, hey, have you guys done this? Hey, grandma, have you written down your recipe? And maybe just start learning stories about your family if you don't know much about it, and trying to capture that yourself and get those conversations going. And then maybe make it a priority for you as you get older, maybe just to start the practice of writing those letters as you start maybe having a family, having children, that would be a practice that you would incorporate in your life.
Yeah.
But I think, go back, talk to your family and, maybe encourage them to do it.
Right. And if you're getting further on in years, there's no better time than now to do your estate planning if you've not done that.
Yeah, please do, especially with those statistics. If only 55% of people have done it and only 18% of those actually have all the documents they need, get on it, and, you can do some very simple things very inexpensively, but it's worth having a free consultation with estate attorneys or talking to your financial advisors or advisor to just have a conversation about what it might look like to put that in place. But as far as the legacy letters, as an advisor, I can encourage you to do it, but that's really your voice, and that's something they have to do.
Yeah. To avoid probate is wise.
Oh yes, avoiding probate. Yeah,
if you love your family.
Yeah, we could do an episode on that.
We could, yeah.
Yep. So I hope this was helpful today to talk about this. I hope you're encouraged. I hope this maybe gave you an idea of something you can do for your family. But you can DM us. In the show notes there too, there's a PDF for you with an outline of maybe giving you some ideas how you can craft your legacy letters. But, and also too, we would love to hear your stories. If you have a great legacy story where, planning that you've done with your family, or if you're the inheritor of a great legacy from grandparents or parents, could you let us know in the comments about your story? Because we're looking for great stories of people that we could interview for future podcasts that tell great stories of legacy and handing down of values and just real powerful stories. So if that's you, leave us show notes, leave us comments, and check out the show notes to get the other valuable resources we're going to leave for you there. And until next time, be encouraged and get your estate documents done.